This is Pilleater, and I record this on October 6, 2022. Note to self, I've been meaning to write an article, 2 articles actually. I'm supposed to write a movie review article, and it's like a week due, and I don't feel like it. I've just been sick for 6 days. But another article I really want to write is a design. I really want to write more about design and game design and mechanics and such like that. I always come back to it. But it's a really creative process in my brain right now, and I want to expand upon Gear World, the Borderlands. I just got Dune, Arrakis, Dawn of the Freeman game. Peter Lotka, Bill Eberly, Jack Ketteridge, and son Greg. I know those guys in person, and I want to write something about their design, and particularly about this Claus Tuber Catan-esque design, or in Monopoly, where you have all the spaces and you got to make a deal for Boardwalk and Marvin Street or whatever. In Monopoly, Catan, and Gear World, there's this little trading mechanic that you can freely distribute your resources to make something out of it while playing Risk. And I just find that bartering tool as a basis to human psychology and economics and what it means to, economics and crap like that. And so, I want to write something about that and about how it has something to do. I don't know, I'm having all these ideologies in my head, supposedly we live under neoliberal capitalism in America, and under liberalism, if I want to be a porn star, I could be a porn star and then find my wealth in the lesser evils, do something. I can't just magically become an astronaut. I have to get the credentials first to be an astronaut. Hence, David Harvey's time and space compression, the time it takes to do the peculiar trade versus why can't you do it now? And I'm thinking like that, and how it boils down to in this board game, in Gear World, where I'm trading coal for scrap, gold for horses, and then I get 4 gold pieces and I make a tower, and 3 towers wins the game. And I think in a way American capitalism works the same way, that people are only interested in me if I have a gold token or something. I'm just quickly briefing these notes down. It's sunset at the moment in suburban Philadelphia. So furthermore, in Gear World, the Borderlands, like in Risk, you determine where resources are produced. And there's 5 pieces of resources, gold, coal, iron, horses, scrap, kind of those basic things. And they can be any color. There's no inherent value between the 5 objects. It could just be red, orange, yellow, green, blue, right? And players distribute where the production sites are made throughout the game. It's made here, it's made there. And then there's another phase where you put your army men on the production sites. So then afterwards, like in a game of Risk, you have all your army men on the board, but you also now have production sites. And so what happens is there's a phase where things are immediately produced, or they don't produce, depending on random chance. And just so happens, if one of your army men control the oil, it produces oil, or the gold, it produces gold. And then now that player has 2 gold, that player has an iron and a coal, and there must be a dynamic trading phase, a free-form trading phase, where now I need gold to produce a tower. So I need to ask somebody, will you trade, I want a gold, I'll give you an iron and a coal, deal or no deal. And we keep bartering back and forth until we get something, or we just say no altogether. Then, here's the fun part. We go to war, and we attack each other, and we try to raid, like what the Bushes did in the Kuwait War, and we try to raid and get the coal. If we can't get it by the means of trading, we go to war for it, hence imperialism. I just think it's so amazing they do this in this tiny little game, Borderlands, Gear World, now Dune Arrakis for the 2022 edition, using Dune. And, again, the only inherent value between these resources is what it can produce. I believe an iron and a coal can produce a gun, 4 gold, or 1 of each, 4 of each. Red, orange, yellow, green produces a tower, and, blue might produce a riverboat. So there is some level of fluctuation between value and devalue, but other than that, value is only determined by a critical geography where you're located by. There's another game Future Pastimes created called Hoax, and Hoax is kind of a mystery charade game where you have to guess each other's roles, but during the game you pretend you're somebody else in order to get resources. So you say, I'm the businessman, I want an orange token. I'm the chef, I want the blue token. And everybody keeps their identity secret, and then you say hoax. That's not your identity, and everybody votes on it if it's their identity or not. And in a form of irony, if they're all wrong, people vote out, you're definitely a chef, and they're not the chef, then they win the game. So, and if they are, then they're just out of the game. But you're trying to hoax people into thinking, gaslighting them into thinking you're actually the chef stealing the orange token. But if you play the game nicely, all the tokens, red, blue, green, or whatever, they're all the same. There's no inherent value. It's not like everybody's after gold, everybody's after yellow. You just need one of each token in order to perform an investigation and get hints on the other players. And instead of making a hoax, you can make an accusation. So everybody's racing to be cutthroat Machiavellians in Hoax. It's a fucking great board game. It goes up to 7 players. It's amazing. This isn't Borderlands, but it's the same guys. Pierre Lacta, Bill Eberly, but they're flirting. Point in being, I want to write about this, they're flirting with the ideal of economics. And what does a currency mean? What does money do to our brains in a weird way? And what are the intentions behind it all? Now back to Borderlands, Gear World, Arrakis. So here's the interesting part. So normally in the game, it's a numbers battle. Whoever has the highest numbers win. Defense wins ties. You got to have a number higher than defense. But ideally speaking, you're allowed up to 2 successful attacks. And under 2 successful attacks mean if you make a failed attack, you keep attacking until you make a successful attack. And that's the interesting part, because there's the risk factoring of, just like in Risk, how many of your army men you want to roll the dice and lose to get it. But in Gear World, Arrakis, Borderlands, you just gotta keep attacking until you make 2 successful attacks. If you can't, before your first successful attack, you can draw a scavenge card, see what it does. But if you make your first successful attack, your turn's immediately over. Or you may make a shipment and it immediately ends your turn, or just pass altogether. But nonetheless, in that combination, you have to keep making 2 successful attacks. So there is that aggro nature that, depending how you play, you can keep attacking to the resources you want. If you don't have any coal, you want to attack the blue player who has coal. It's going to force you in a situation where you want that, and you're going to have to attack players. But you can be ethical, not attack them. Now, that's unlike Cosmic Encounter. In Cosmic Encounter, I flip over a Destiny deck, and I flip over it, and as the orange player, I must attack the blue player. I must attack the blue player. So it's unlike in Gear World, it's like social cues. It's like, I need the coal now, so I must do imperialism, right? You are forced in a corner to go to war with people. It's not like you draw a Destiny card in Cosmic Encounter. Same designers. In Borderlands, I don't produce the gold. I don't produce the scrap. I don't produce the horses. It's just there in like a geographical location. I moved to California because there was a gold rush, right? And I just so happened to find gold buried under my house, and now I'm a rich Rockefeller or something. And that kind of Texas oil men get rich quick scheme is like over, and it's personified in Gear World or Borderlands. And so I'm thinking to myself that our American society is so depleted of resources, and we rely so much on other countries to do everything for us, that we now resolve to this managerial class, like James Burnham's arguing about, because it's not about, there was a 30-year period of trade or skill. It wasn't that I'm laying on gold, here's my gold. It's now was like, well, you see, I'm a cartoonist, and I can make cartoon pornography for you. because that's like a desire you have, like equivalent to working at Chick-fil-A and giving you a chicken sandwich or something. Or I'm a cartoonist, I can draw these graphic ads, the age before computers. You know, I am a rocket scientist. Let me build these expensive rockets for these like rogue state that hates America. So we have all these peculiar trades that fit in with liberalism, but ideally, you know, as digression here, the trades, these skills are supposed to set your personality quirk. So if you're smart and witty, you naturally become a teacher. If you're a bodybuilder, you naturally become a blue-collar construction worker, right? And so it's a war of subcultures, and it's just like going back to Charles Murray about the bell curve. People naturally follow subculture, and subculture dictates out of this weird Marxist analysis about what are you going to be doing for the rest of your life to voluntarily, by force, commit to the American project. But it's funny because you don't even have to contribute at all. You can be a homeless bum in Brooklyn. I don't care. But that's the funny part. If you want money, you have to be a whore. You have to be a slut, something what Al Stankert is saying. And so going back to Gear World, it's not like I'm the guy producing gold. I don't produce gold because I can make it out of thin air, right? Think about West Virginia for a second. West Virginia produced coal because there was lots of fucking coal in West Virginia and they all became coal miners. Somebody had to go in that cave and dig it out. Well, the problem with resources is they're made by the earth, not by people. And if resources are made by the earth, not people, then you can run out of those said resources and there'll be nothing left to make like wood to chairs or wood ladders to get the apples from the tree and so forth. And so we rely on these like bullshit skill jobs, like David Graeber's arguing, and they think, oh, we need math teachers. Why? Because the state said so. And this is getting into the libertarian logic of everything, but you get where I'm coming from, right? You need to have a carpenter to build a house. But nobody wants to be a carpenter anymore because the subculture behind being a carpenter is like toxic masculinity and all this bullshit, and nobody wants to build houses anymore. So everything gets resourced. And so, you know, everything's getting outsourced. And so we don't have a culture that knows what the means of production is about anymore. And Gear World is an economics game, not about us being in the James Burnham managerial class, but about finding new resources and naturally crafting it out of something. I'm taking resources, making a gun out of it. I'm making, and everybody knows how to make a gun. Everybody knows how to make a ship. It's just taken for granted. So there is some kind of paternalist communist system within the workings of Gear World. Alexander Solzhenitsyn actually had a short story, Natashka, or it's falling from my head right now. But he has a short story about like this Russian teacher who loved her children, loved Russian history, whatever. But when like communism came to power, she had to basically write about why, you know, Lenin's great, you know, Stalin's great, and why we got to own the means of production and all like the communist ideology. And the funny part is that her value wasn't so much now about like Russian racial nationalism or like the tradition of Russia. She had to turn that overnight and basically talk about, you know, why communism is good, this other alien ideology that invaded your country. And completely, and the point of the story is that what is value? And it seems to me that value is pretty much dictated by who's ever in power and whoever wants it. And if you naturally destroy, you know, those free markets of those values based upon desire, paternalism will create its own value. You know, they need a DPRK nuclear bomb right now to throw bombs over Japan or something, right? They need that right now. Ultimately, if you think about it, religion is against value. Religion has no value to society. And what I mean by that is value as in how it benefits capitalism. See, religion is kind of like a charity. It is a martyrdom position. It's like saying, I am Christian, I am Muslim, I am Jewish, I am this super transcendental religion because this is the good of society and they don't know. So there is this level of higher paternalism within religion. It's like Chick-fil-A banning gays from their restaurant. It's like, we just believe, you know, religion, higher power. It's not that we have anything against gays, but this is the law. This is written in the golden tablets. This is the law. And so we don't have that religious base anymore in like the United States or even like this bizarre free market neoliberalism anymore. So it's like people are so obsessed by saying, I need someone to build a bridge from Staten Island to Manhattan now. Somebody do it. Where are they? Is any of the stock of the country? Nobody wants to do it because they're all bougie at home in like suburban Pennsylvania doing their own thing, and nobody wants to build the bridge. So they got to hire some robots or whatever, luxury automated communism or something. And so religion kind of makes things plausible in a weird way where I must have this force to be done, whether you like it or not. And it's because it's greater than how much my paycheck is going to be, what I'm going to do if I'm another Dilbert in the office or something like that. And so supply and demand can dictate also like the whole sexual crisis too. If there's like one woman for every 20 men, we're doomed, because that one woman is going to subjectively choose a man based on her whims and desires and what she feels like this morning, right? She's not going to have kids because she has to produce more. The problem is there's 20 horny men and they want one woman, but the woman only likes that guy because he said nice words to her, subjectively speaking, even though she should eugenically go with that guy who has a higher stock. That's another dooming crisis, is that the consumer is always subjective and can affect like reproduction value. And there's a bigger scheme to economics, right? And so if, everyone needs gold to produce the towers, and 3 towers wins the game, right? Nobody has gold. So now all of a sudden gold becomes a value because the scarcity is that everybody wants it, because I guess this is what wins the game. And there's other ways. You don't have to have 4 gold. You can have gold, wood, and blue and green, right? But nobody's doing that. Everybody's so like fixated. And I think that's dictated by ideology and how you think about it. And just some thoughts about the game right now and how that kind of dictates of all these stupid fucking like suburban women that get their PhD in English and then end up working with the lowest forms of people possible, and they can't even equivalent to the analytical philosopher PhD from this prestigious school other than the state school. And you see it all the time, because what is their value? Their value is just being like a stooge to these created jobs under the Joe Biden regime, and it's horrible. It's like you can make work out of thin air in America, and that's why the country's declining, because like literally we are not building the bridge. We're not building the towers. People do not have the cultural values to produce anymore. There literally is this self-defeatism into accelerationism. In our word, there is a nihilism about economics, that we do not own the means of production. Like, it's just like Caleb Maupin is saying. It's like the whole Nick Land accelerationist shit is basically now saying that we're not in charge of our destiny. Man is not a part of it. It's like almost anti-Juche. It's like saying there's a robot in power that other elites made for us and beat it like in a race. The robot will make luxury automated communism for us, and everything will just naturally happen, and we don't have to do anything. Everything, reform this, reform that, but it's still capitalism at the end of the day. It's still neoliberal capitalism creating a Fox virtual reality communism like in the new Blade Runner film. So a lot of that shit's happening, and again, it goes back to the Nietzschean strong man and the sheep, all that shit. So some thoughts. I'm trying to congregate everything to write in this board game article.